Today we're looking at Predator's 2500 watt generator. As soon as you get this out of the box, you'll have setup guide, owner's manual, along with an oil funnel, a tool bag which will contain tools and a DC charging cable, and of course the generator itself. The first thing you'll see is this 3-step guide on the generator with a QR code and also telling you to add stabilizer to your fuel along with oil, which this does not come with. Now this new generator will have 2500 starting watts, 2000 running watts, and a new 98cc engine that should turn 4600 max RPM with a 1.3 gallon tank that should last about 12 hours at a 500 watt load, or 16.7 amps max total output. This generator says it has a dB rating of 58 dBs, which we're going to test that along with 43 pounds empty. As we look at the front of the generator, this will come with one pair of 120 volt outlets providing the 2000 watts, your indicator lights for output, overload, and low oil, along with reset breakers, also these parallel ports so you can put two generators together. You will also have the reset button if you overload it, along with a grounding lug, which I've never seen anybody ground a portable generator, which this is also neutral floating. You have a 3-way selector with detents, which automatically stops in either the start or run position, so this is something I like that new generators have been coming with, that way it automatically stops in the correct position. You have a reset button for your DC out, which this provides up to 8 amps, and then this new PD30, which now they are providing more watts out for your smaller devices with a little indicator light. Along with the Eco Throttle, that way if you're using more inductive loads or loads like a compressor, you want that switch off. And at the front of the generator is the air intake that goes right over the inverter board versus the bottom, which some generators have them on the bottom, which does cause problems sucking in excessive dust. On the side of the generator is another quick start guide. You'll also have the pull start, which this is just going to be a black cord, nothing special, along with this black bezel to help prevent fraying. As we take a look at this new 98cc engine, one of the things I noticed was the wider oil fill reservoir. This is something you really only see on Hondas, which does make it nice for servicing, as it does make it easier to see your oil levels without overfilling or making a mess. As we take a look at the air box, we're going to take a look at the air filters. This is something I like to check on new generators because I like to make sure that they have been oiled. There should be a thin film of oil, which this one does not have anything on it. Much like the other Predator, this was something I noted, so it's also something I advise for you guys to actually put a little oil on there, so we will actually attend to that in just a minute. As we take a look at the spark plug access port, this looks like it is big enough for me to get my hand in there without needing any tools to remove the spark plug cap, which is good. Some of them are so small, you can't even get your hand in there. We're now going to get this engine ready to run by adding oil and also taking care of that air filter. Now when it comes to adding oil, this is not the late great oil debate. You will get so many recommendations on oil types along with viscosities. I suggest just looking in the manual, but when it comes to doing your oil changes, I like using this syringe. I've been using this a long time now, which makes servicing really easy. I can see what I'm doing when I am filling up the generator, which this is much easier than having to lift it. Plus, again, I can visually see the oil level so I don't make a mess. And these only run about $15 to $20, which I can leave some information down below if you're curious. Now you can use the dipstick to do the oil level or check the manual, because it does say to put the oil right to the bottom of the oil threads, which is right about where I'm at. So now, before I put the dipstick back in, I'm going to just dip my finger in there and use my gloves as kind of a little sandwich bag trick, which I've shown you before. So I'm just going to coat my hands with a light coat of oil, and then this way I can just put a thin film on the air filter. So as I grab this with my hands coated with oil, I can now just do all the flat surfaces, which is all you need to do. And you're not saturating it, you're just putting on a thin film to help catch all those finer dust particles. That way they can't pass through the filter. Time to take off our gloves and clean up. Now there is one more step, is adding this hour meter, something I wish small generators came with. It's not that they're hard to install, but it does add an extra step and also an extra expense. It's not that they're expensive, only around $15 to $30 depending on which ones you buy, which I don't typically buy the cheapest, but it is something I will leave down below if you're interested in adding one of these to keep track of service hours and more. Now installation on these is actually really simple, as you're just adding one wire that all you have to do is really wrap around the spark plug lead 5 times, take the 2 zip ties, and then basically secure the wire in place. The biggest thing to check is definitely when you drill a hole is that you don't want to run into anything on the underside like the fuel tank or some kind of electrical component. The screws normally go in really easy with just some downward pressure. I normally don't use a drill for this part. And voila. Now when it does come to the spark plug lead wire, I normally save 40% on the meter and keep the other 60% in case I mess up. Now this generator definitely doesn't have as much room to work with, so wrapping the wire around 5 times is not exactly easy in this unit, which it did take a couple minutes and a couple words of expression, which I won't say on here. And now that I got a couple zip ties and a piece of tape to hold everything together, we're good to go. We can put the covers back on and get this ready to be fired up. Now the manual does say 87 octane is all you need. You can use 91 if you prefer, which is only going to give you a little bit longer shelf life, but it doesn't provide you any performance gains. As far as a fuel treatment, I like Lucas. I'm not sponsored by them. It's just something I've had good luck with, along with this SureCan gas can. I've used this for years now, and I will never go back to a traditional gas can after having this. Now an important tip is never fill the generator above the little red line in here. Now another thing I do like is a manual gas gauge. The digital ones are fine, but I think the manual ones just work better. With a full tank of fuel and oil ready to run, this comes in just under 50 pounds. Now we'll put this in the choke position. I normally give it 3 to 5 pulls before I give it one hard pull, and this should help get the fuel down to the carburetor, which it looks like this time it really didn't need it. But as you can hear, it still needed to prime a little bit as it does fill up the float bowl inside the carburetor, but now it's running smooth and good to go. So what do you think so far? Sounds good? Looks good? Although I don't know about you, but I can hear something. Do you hear that? Some kind of a rattle. Turn this on. And now drops lower, which sounds much better. I do like the tone on this, but I can hear something. We're gonna see if we can find out what that is. Ah, found it. This little black bezel is a little bit loose. So we're gonna fix that. I see these little tabs. There's a couple just not pushed down. Make sure that's down. Get down there. Another one here, there. Ah, better. And better. Okay, so I have just over an hour on this. We're gonna do a quick oil change just to take a look. Now, some people overreact to this because they think that the oil is dirty, but there is an assembly grease or spray that they use to condition the cylinder so it doesn't rust during shipping and also while it stores on the shelf for who knows how long. Now, one reason I do like using the oil syringe is because of this part. I don't have to lift it. Plus, once you tip the generator too much, look at the fuel as it starts to pour out. That's something that also becomes a safety hazard. Now, I did let the generator cool down even though it is still warm, but again, you need to take caution during this part. And again, that's why I like that syringe, is not having to deal with that. Now, I don't do this in every video because it's always the same, some dirty oil with a few little speckled flakes, which is never really that big of a deal. Now, if I saw chunks, sure, I might have a reaction, but for little things like that, I'm not too worried. Again, this is why the syringe is really nice. It makes quick, easy work out of changing the oil. Now here is a close-up of the oil. If you want to look, you can see just a couple small flakes, which this is pretty much normal that I see in almost every new generator, which after a while I haven't really even been paying attention anymore. Now I did do my normal testing, checking the pure sine wave at an 80% load, which you can see here everything is very symmetrical and looks great. Total harmonic distortion also came in under 3% at only 0.8 at an 80% load. Now when it comes to engine RPM, this does hover at a low 3500, but when you do take the eco throttle and put it into the off position, this is only going to move it up to around 4200 RPM. This is where you would see a 80% load on the generator. And then if you were to run the generator at max with a 2000 watt load, this is where you will see that 4600 rated RPM. And testing today is 105 degrees in the sun, while about 93 in the shade. Okay, sound test time. So we're gonna have a load provided by that little EcoFlow Delta unit at about 500 watts. That's gonna be our quarter load, where they measured this at a low 58 decibels. So we'll see what it sounds like. Again, it's on concrete, and we are 23 feet away. If you've seen my videos before, I've used this spot a lot of times, and we are looking for anything under 62 would be great. And it looks like we are hovering about 61, which is actually really nice for this generator. The next test is 80% load. This is where you could run the generator at that 80% sustained without really having to worry about it overloading or overheating. As you can see, right around 65, which this is actually really good. Most other generators are around 68 or even 70 for some other units. Okay, now for full disclosure, because I do have to follow Federal Trade Commission guidelines like every other YouTuber. If you get anything for free, or even if you have to send it back, you have to let people know. So yes, Harbor Freight did send this to me, but if you've seen many of my other videos, that doesn't sway my decision or the information I give you. A lot of followers know that I actually buy a lot of the stuff on my channel out of my own pocket, so I don't have a lot of sponsorships. But Harbor Freight asked, hey, did you want to check out the new Predator 2500? Since I do a lot of generator videos, and of course I said sure, that way I can pass the information to you guys. Now another cool thing though is that I found out the fuel pump actually does work on this unit. I've talked about this extended run fuel pump before, and now you can actually add it to this unit for even longer run times. I'll leave information down below if you want to check it out, but you just add an external tank of like about 6 gallons, so now you can really run this for a long duration of time if you wanted to. Now as far as pros and cons on this, one of the big pros is it's only $30 more than the Predator 2000, which kind of makes that one almost obsolete. I wouldn't even really consider that one now because this one's only $30 more, and typically they have sales all the time. So if you're going to buy one, you might as well just buy this one. It's only slightly bigger and it's got more power. Now one of the other things I do like is the side panel popping off real easy, because then you don't need tools to take it off to check oil or if you need to change a spark plug. Now a couple of the cons are really going to be, I wish they would add an hour meter to the small generators, but other generators don't have it as well. It's just something that I would prefer. And one of the only other cons is that it's right around the same price as some of the other generators that I review that have a little bit more power. This one honestly is a pinch quieter than some of those other ones. So if you're wanting more power for the same price, then you may want to consider one of those other models. But one of the big things is too is that you can walk right over to Harbor Freight, buy one of these, also buy the warranty, and we know how that works. It's kind of like the Predator 3500. If that thing ever had a problem, people just took them back and got another one. So that's one of the huge benefits of being able to pick this up at Harbor Freight. So that's one of the things, if you're paying a little bit more money, you're kind of getting that option. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I will have links down below of the items that you did see today, and I hope you guys liked the video, and I hope to see you in another one.